The U.S. and Iran are reportedly closing in on a deal to end the war.
The proposal centers on both sides lifting restrictions around the Strait of Hormuz, and Tehran would commit to a moratorium on nuclear enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief.
Trey Yingsta is live in Tel Aviv with more. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey, guys, good morning. President Trump made a major announcement overnight saying that he is pausing Project Freedom to allow negotiations with Iran to proceed. The president posting on Truth Social, quote, based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, the tremendous military success that we have had during the campaign against the country of Iran, and additionally, the fact that great progress has been made toward a complete and final agreement with representatives of Iran, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. Now, Iran's ambassador to Pakistan responded to the announcement by mocking President Trump, posting on X, once beaten, twice shy. The U.S. military remains postured across the region should negotiations with Iran not yield the desired outcome. Yesterday, from the White House, Secretary of State Marco Rubio described what the Trump administration prefers.
Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal.
The question now is if a deal can be reached with the Iranians. President Trump indicated to Fox News this week that Iran is being far more malleable because of the U.S. pressure being applied on the regime.
Other presidents should have done this. Wave the white flag of surrender.
You heard the president there. They should wave the white flag of surrender. The region now waits to see if they will. Guys?
So Trey, what do you think's behind this when we have a meeting with the Pentagon talking about getting open in the Strait, and next thing you know, we're talking about pulling back on the levers of security that would allow the Strait to reopen? What do you think's happening? Was it the foreign minister visit to China? Was it the drop, the surge in the market, the drop in oil prices? What do you think it is?
Well, this morning, Axios is reporting that a memorandum of understanding could be reached in the next 48 hours that would include 14 points agreed to by both the United States and Iran, among them an enrichment moratorium and also opening eventually the Strait of Hormuz. Now, if this does move forward, it's an indication that progress is being made at the negotiating table. The question is whether or not the Iranians are serious about actually signing this understanding and if it would lead to a firm, broader agreement in the future. Within the reporting that we're reviewing this morning is a 30-day window to reach that broader understanding. Now, the White House has not commented on this report, but this could be one of the reasons why the president is pulling back, at least on Project Freedom right now, again, to allow the Iranians to come to the negotiating table and reach this deal in the days ahead.
All right. Well, the purpose of this was to make sure they didn't have nuclear weapons. So if we know that they still have that enriched uranium, if we do pull back and they do agree to a moratorium, whether or not we could trust them is a different issue, then will they still have this enriched uranium? They could still, they said at the beginning of this, they had the capability of making 9 to 11
bombs. The president is very clear they will not have a nuclear program that allows them to get a nuclear weapon. And I spoke with the president earlier this week. And again, he indicated the Iranians are being far more malleable at the negotiating table because of the U.S. pressure. But there are two key questions here: whether or not on their nuclear front they will give up the enriched uranium, and also in terms of any sort of moratorium, if it would be temporary within a matter of 10 to 15 years or something more permanent. We don't know the answer to that question right now. You also have the issue of the Strait of Hormuz and the threat that the Iranians pose to international shipping, and then more broadly, their support of regional proxies like Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah. All of this likely being discussed at the negotiating table, but at least according to reports, it appears right now they are looking to create some sort of understanding agreement that would lead to future negotiations. Then you have this broader question about the military posture across the region, understanding there are more than 50,000 U.S. forces currently deployed to the Middle East, along with aircraft carriers and destroyers, these air assets and sea assets that are prepared should conflict resume with the Iranian regime. And so the timing of all this is very sensitive, and the president, our understanding, is not going to move forward with any sort of agreement that wouldn't lead to a permanent deal with the Iranian regime. What's interesting here is that's exactly what the Iranians want as well. They want a permanent off-ramp to this current conflict across the region, and whether or not this agreement can reach that understanding that would appease both the Iranians and the Americans is still up in the air at this moment.
And the blockade's still in place, so the Iran's not getting any oil in or out, so not that they need it in. But thanks so much, Trey.
Thank you, Trey.
2026, Fox News is currently up and running. There are no confirmed widespread outages, though a few individual users have reported minor playback issues on specific cable providers like Dish Network earlier today. If you are having trouble, you might want to try refreshing your browser or checking your specific cable signal. Top headlines today, May 6, 2026. If you were looking for the latest news rather than the site status, here are the major stories currently leading their coverage. Project Freedom pause. President Trump has announced a temporary pause on the plan to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz, citing great progress toward a potential deal with Iran. vape policy shift, the FDA has authorized fruit-flavored e-cigarettes for adults, marking a significant policy change under the current administration. Economic strain. National gas prices have surged past $4.50 per gallon, largely attributed to